What is going on, guys? This is Miasin. So today I wanted to go over a bunch of cards in order to try to discuss whether or not these cards are worth playing in the upcoming format, Phantom Nightmare, because obviously it's all about fire. If you are not ready for fire decks, you're going to be a little late behind. But also, if you are playing fire decks yourself, then what are the best tech cards to play or to avoid playing? So I wanted to go over all these cards in this video. But before we go any further, I would really appreciate if you could smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. Thank you so much, you are the best, and now let's get right into it. Alrighty, so the first card I really wanted to make pretty much like almost a full video on is Heita the Fire Channeler, because I made a shorts on this card saying it was really bad, and I got a lot of backlash on it, but there's a reason why I said that. So the card has an interesting effect where you can discard it and another fire monster as a cost, so you're discarding two cards, to search your deck for a fire monster with attack higher than the discarded monster. But then for the rest of the turn, you can't activate the effects of non-fire monsters, and the other effect is completely irrelevant. So my issue with this card is, first of all, it plays really poorly into Ash and the Droll, because trading two cards into one card, but the real reason why, there are two real reasons why I hate this card. First of all, it's not a true consistency starter, because you can only search a fire monster from your deck with attacks strictly higher than the monster that you're discarding. So in other words, you have a 0% chance to search cards like Ash. But also, you're usually just searching high attack monsters. Whether you're playing Fire King or pure Snake Eyes, the monsters with high attack are not really the ones that you want. You really want the ones with low attack. You want to search cards like Snake Eye Ash. Those are the really good ones, or even Snake Eye Populace. But the only way to search out Snake Eye Ash would be by discarding Populace or Ash, which is very counterproductive. Like at this point, you might as well just play 3 Diabell Star 3 Wanted if you weren't already, or play 3 Prosperity if you also weren't, because I think that's just a much better consistency card. But the fact that you can't even discard like your big boys like Flamberge or the Runics in order to search your consistency cards just isn't the best. So Heita the Fire Channeler is not a boost to either pure Snake Eyes or Fire King. It's also not good at all in Rescue Ace, like whatsoever, because Turbulence is already super easy to access. That deck does not really have like a consistency lack. It's just that you can draw a bunch of bricks, but it's not like Heita is gonna make things much better, because imagine now when you draw like Heita with a bunch of spells and traps. Now you know for a fact you're doing nothing, or maybe you're drawing like Veiler and stuff like that, like cards that you can't even discard for Heita, or you're discarding again really high attack monsters like the Preventer or the Fire something dude. Yeah, that's just not really good. So yeah, I would stay very far away from Heita. I keep hearing the argument of, yeah, it's really good with Volcanics, but realistically, the only cards that you can really discard for free value would be Volcanic Shell and Rimfire. Apart from that, you're always going neg 1 with Heita, and you are playing very hard into Droll and Lockbird without really generating crazy advantage. Not to mention that being locked out of non-fire monster effects for the rest of the turn is absolutely painful, because it means that going second, you're just doing nothing now. You are not breaking boards with SP Little Knight, you are not OTKing with a Zealantis and Raging Phoenix OTK, and you are also not going into Dark to revive back your opponent's Diabell Star and then give yourself the original Sinful Spell Snake Eye. So this card just shuts down so much, and going first, it means that you can't go into like an Appaloosa to play around Nibiru. So yeah, this card just literally adds no value to your deck regardless of what it is. Even in Volcanic, again, I would try to stay far away from it. I think there's like way more good alternatives. It's just a trap for bad deck builders, honestly. So yeah, that's the way I see it, and I think a lot of pro players also see it that way. So keep that in mind with Heita. Prosperity is next up. It's a card that you really want to play in every single deck, but again, Droll is going to be everywhere. I already made a video on Prosperity saying that if your deck is already consistent, you don't want to add too much redundancy, because redundancy doesn't always mean that you're going to be winning more often. And Prosperity, when you're playing a bunch of hand traps, is not really good, because going second, you're not really trying to excavate into hand traps. They are basically blanks. But with board breakers instead, Prosperity is really good, especially in tandem with Super Poly and Forbidden Droplet, because of the interaction. In the resolution, use your third player priority. Either go for Super Poly or Droplet, and then your opponent can't respond. So even if you searched, at least you can circumvent Droll and Lockbird a little bit like that. Again, Prosperity, you should play it in your deck if it's somewhat inconsistent, or if you need more starters. But if you're playing like a fire deck, your deck is already super consistent, so honestly I would stay far away from Prosperity, especially considering the fact that Wanted makes you draw a card, so it's gonna conflict even more. Now, it goes without saying, but Upstart Goblin is basically just a bootleg version of Prosperity. I, again, keep talking shit about this card. I think Upstart Goblin is horrendous, because, again, we can't go back now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, we've crossed a point of no return where Droll and Lockbird is here to stay. It's sad to say, but Droll will most likely never get banned, and Droll will basically almost never be bad unless it becomes like a trap format. Cards like Upstart Goblin, they cannot really thrive. Maybe you can main deck it, but then you have to side deck it if your opponent sides into Droll, and it's just like you might as well play something else at this point. Not to mention that also post game 1, it plays into like anti-spell and stuff like that. It's just like there's no real, and also you can't Upstart into a hand trap going second. Same issue with Prosperity. There's like no real like positive aspects to this card. Not only do you also lose in time because you're giving your opponent 1,000 life points. I despise everything about this card. Chicken Game is in the exact same boat. The card could go back to 3 and nobody would consider it. It's just not really good. It's, again, nobody's playing 3 Upstart and the card is unlimited. Well, I wonder why. Prosperity could also get banned, and I don't even think it would change that much at this point. Only because, again, this is a Droll and Logbird format. A lot of people are main decking this card, which was not the case before. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. A lot of people were still main decking Droll and Logbird, but I mean, when Unchained was, you know, top tier and absolutely everywhere, a lot of people were still choosing to delegate Droll and Logbird to the side deck instead because Droll is really bad against Unchained. Anyways, the next card is actually very interesting, and I do think it has a lot of potential applications. It is Fire Recovery, so it's kind of like a Monster Reborn, but in a way better and worse. So you can only revive back a fire monster in your grave, but in order to revive it back, you have to send a card from your hand to the graveyard. And it has a graveyard effect that I think is really cool, so you can banish it and then shuffle back 3 of your monsters that are fire in your banished or in your grave. And then you draw 1 card, so it's basically like a Daigusto Emerald. It is a great way to recover from a soul release in case like your Flamberge, Garunix, and stuff like that, they all get banished. You can get them back, and I do think that's cool, but you're gonna have to not play into soul release by not using this card early and then hold it for the grind game. And at this point, you're seeing Fire Recovery more as a recovery option rather than like an extender that makes you push even harder. And I don't like that. And also the fact that you have to discard a card, well, I mean, send from the hand to the grave, that's even in a way worse, but not really. It's not like you can really trigger a bunch of effects. I think that's not really good because even though you can draw a card with its other effect, you're really just making your money back. Monster Reborn, the reason why I prefer it over Fire Recovery, and I think it's a really cool tech, is because you can steal your opponent's monsters. So you can steal their Princess or their Garunix, and then you get your play started from your opponent's cards. And I think Monster Reborn is a great tech. You should play 1 Monster Reborn before playing your first Fire Recovery. So also something to consider. Dark Ruler No More is the ultimate trap. I absolutely do not recommend playing this card at all. Please do not play it. It has no real good applications. Even against Silent Enforcer, you want to believe that it's good, but it's not because they can easily play around it with a trap card. All they have to do is not like overcommit to the board by summoning the Seravis and using stuff as early as possible. So they wait until you Dark Ruler, and then they go trap into Seravis, and then you use any card or effect, and then they can tag out into the second Skull Guardian or the Seravis Ritual Monster, and then your Dark Ruler basically just did nothing. And another issue with Dark Ruler is that you can't OTK if you use this card. You can't deal damage, which is bad because it means that the only thing you can do is break your opponent's board and set up an unbreakable board. But if your deck doesn't really do that very easily, it's going to be bad because fire decks, they already have a very good grind game and a very good follow-up. So you basically just need to kill them if you want to feel safe, which is the reason why a lot of people are playing Phoenix, Nightmare Phoenix in the Snake Eye Fire King deck over sometimes SP Little Knight. I mean, they're still playing SP, but they go into Phoenix over SP because you're getting rid of a back row, but you're not giving up on your battle phase in a way. I mean, you can still attack directly, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, Dark Ruler No More, the fact that it kind of just increases like your deck's, well, not really increases your deck's weaknesses, but it makes it so that you can't OTK. It's just a really big turnoff for me. Not to mention that this card resolving against Fire King just doesn't do anything. Like, it's gonna negate Appaloosa, but that's it, and all their threats in the graveyard are still gonna be very dangerous. So yeah, also keep that in mind. Lightning Storm, another really bad card. I think Duster is infinitely better. You can always use this card even if you like Nibiru'd your opponent. You can only use Duster if you can only use Duster if you Nibiru'd your opponent, but Lightning Storm you can't. So you can't really play it in tandem with Nibiru or Phantasme or Bestials and stuff like that, even though you shouldn't play Bestials, but I'm gonna cover this very soon. It's just a worse Duster. There's really nothing else to say. Like, even as a Regeki, it just barely does anything. Cosmic Cyclone, this card is actually much better than Lightning Storm because at least this is gonna cover like Centurion. Fire King on the field spell, I think it's really nice. Whereas Lightning Storm on their spells and traps, it's just not that great because they can protect the Fire King Island with the Sanctuary. And even against attack position monsters, like they can float with Diablo Whale and then they get all their stuff back. So again, it's basically a Regeki at best, and at worst, it can't even be used. Cosmic Cyclone, again, much better, and much better into other matchups as well. Like I said, Duster, especially good with Thrust, because this can get you like one-ofs like Change of Heart, Duster. It can also get you Lightning Storm, but I mean, again, like you're basically just getting like a bad Regeki. Snatch Steal, that's again another deck building trap. You really want to believe that Snatch Steal is good because the card was banned for a long time, but that's not an argument for playing the card, because it's basically just a worse Change of Heart. It doesn't matter that you get to keep the monster for several turns, because your opponent can just destroy the Snatch Steal and then get the monster back. And I really do not like that. Like, Change of Heart, you have to have like an actual negate to deal with it. But Snatch Steal, your opponent can just go like Chain MST, destroy the Snatch Steal, and then you're screwed. I would play Mind Control and Change of Heart over Snatch Steal any day of the week, especially Change of Heart. I mean, it's just a 1-of. Mind Control is a 3-of now, got unlimited recently, but Triple Tactic Talents is definitely the best one out of all the spell cards that I mentioned here. I really do believe that this is going to be a Triple Tactic Talent format where a lot of people are going to be main decking 3 copies of this card and potentially 3 copies of Thrust with like Karma Cannon, Different Dimension Ground, and cards like that. Maybe not all the targets in the main deck, maybe like 1 maximum, or sometimes even 0, because going second it can still get Talent, and going first it can get Imperm. But yeah, this card is almost as good as Talent because it can search Talent. And finally, the Bestial Monsters. They're nice cards, and they do have nice applications. They're not always bad against fire decks, because they do have some cards that you can banish. For example, the IP Masquerena being targeted by Flamberge. But if your opponent is going for a Fire King combo, the Bestial Monsters are 100% useless. And it's not even like you can say, oh yeah, you can banish the Link Rebo for value. You're gonna have to do it super preemptively, and it's just not gonna be like super insane. So yeah, the Bestials are just not fantastic. Even though, again, even if they don't work like optimally against the opponent, it's not the end of the world, because the goal is to have like a monster on your board that applies pressure. And if they are good against the opponent, it's just a bonus. So that's the way I see it. If you're playing like Dragon Link, it's not like you have to cut on all the Bestials. You can still play it no problem, because they're a part of your strategy. But I wouldn't really play Bestials as my main hand traps, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that's it for this video, but I will be making like a tier list for hand traps very soon. So like what I believe are the best hand traps, and also maybe like a video on like the best board breakers and the best blowouts to play when you're going first. Yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.